first meeting with this group, especially with like Thomas and Yamador, some like established guys, like how did you approach just kind of, reinstalling those relationships that you had built, during your first time here?
What many people probably didn't know is that I recruited Diamonor, I recruited Thomas. Those guys were probably a little higher for the level that I was at the time. But I knew those guys when they were in high school. When Thomas was at Rancho Cucamonga, when Diamador was at Salesian Academy. I'm very familiar with the high school coaches, very familiar with who they were. Having a year with them, obviously there's some experience, there's some relationship building that had transpired. So it was really just picked up where we left off. I think that we had such great relationships with those kids, both in the safety room, also in the corners room, that those kids stayed in touch with me, even though I was away at a different institution last year. Hey, coach, we're rooting for you. Hey, we wish you well. And I know from corners and safeties both, and even to the defensive linemen. So it's been a smooth transition just in terms of the relationships. It's just a different role this time around.
Coach, when this opening came up here at Oregon, what attracted you to it?
Well, obviously it's Oregon. You know what I mean? You can't simulate a destination spot like this in terms of having the resources to develop athletes, to attract the right type of athletes that I love to coach. Also, having the opportunity to compete in the Pac-12 championship, and having the opportunity to push for the playoffs definitely was something intriguing for me. But I think more than anything, it was about the relationships with the staff that's in here. It's one of a kind. It's really, really, truly family. It's genuine and it's real. I knew when I was there, our first time, that it was special, it was unique. But you go different places and you have different camaraderie with different staffs. But this deal kind of felt different, from the top to the bottom, from my relationship with Coach Cristobal going back to our South Florida days when I was at St. Thomas Aquinas and he was at Rutgers as the tight ends coach, coming through those doors. So, it's been really good to, work with Coach Avalos, someone that I've known, over the years when I was at Southern Utah and he was at his last institution. So it's been a really smooth transition just in terms of relationships. But I really just enjoyed just getting around the staff, that one knew me. I knew the expectations and the culture of this program, and they knew me and I knew them. So I think it was a perfect fit in terms of that. And then I think the timing of it all to make the kids comfortable with the transition because they knew and they respected my football acumen.
How hard was it to leave Minnesota and all the relationships you had formed there?
I tell you what, you win 11 football games at a place like that. It's a special season. A lot of things that had never been done there, and you always leave the relationships with the kids behind. And you pour into those relationships. I lost a coach, after my true freshman year that recruited me. And so I have that experience and I know them. But, I've called each of them personally, to let them know where the relationship was and let them know that my relationship with them lasts way past the destination that I'm at. And it also lasts way past their eligibility, whatever that may be. So that doesn't happen here. It's wherever I'm at. I'm a relationship-style coach. I'm going to continue to do so.
Thomas was just saying he thinks there's at least 8 to 10 guys that can really play in the secondary. How do you kind of try to utilize all that depth?
Well, I tell you what, I hope we do have 8 to 10 guys, and that stuff will get settled out here in the grass pretty soon. But obviously, everybody's working to get the best 11 football players on the field. We believe that college football is getting played at a higher rate in terms of the snap count. Anytime you have bodies that are versatile, that can do versatile techniques and play different schemes, that's always to the advantage of the defense. So we just really want to stay on top of those. So if we got opportunities to put different packages on the football field to create advantages for us and disadvantages for the offense, we're going to cross-train guys in different positions. This is the springtime, the time to do that, where we can experiment, take what we like and throw away what we don't.
How much have some of those guys improved since you were here last?
Was
that pretty noticeable?
Yeah, I think that obviously, you see the strength and the size and the numbers of certain guys that were younger, and when they were there. And obviously you see some of the transition skills. This is my really first chance to see Mikael Wright as a college player. I was here when we had him as a high school player, but it's a little bit different now to see him move around and change direction. But you can definitely see the strength and conditioning program here has been elite. It's been top notch. That Coach Feld and those guys, Shaw Williams, are really doing a great job developing these guys' bodies and their movement skills.
You inherit about as talented a group as there is in this league, at least.
No pressure.
Yeah. How do you go about, obviously, the results is number one, but for them, taking returning players like Thomas and Demo and turning them into high-round picks, what they want in their futures?
No doubt. Well, the goal here, first of all, is to win championships. And I believe that if we all win games, the opportunity for our individual success comes along with that. But no season prior to season carries over to the next. Just because you had success in the previous season doesn't guarantee that you will have it this year. So we got to go right back to the beginning, right back to the basics, the fundamentals, our get-offs, stay humble and hungry in terms of what our defensive mentality is, and kind of go forward. Those guys played a lot of football, and my goal is to make them the best football player they can so they can play possibly as long as they possibly can. So I think for me, just coming in here, having a relationship, they're allowing me to tear down their game and build them back up. I focus on techniques and individual schemes. That's my forte. And I just believe in that relationship style that I'm going to be able to coach them hard enough, love them hard enough, and to get the desired results that we both want, that they get to where they want to be, and we're getting what we want as a defense in terms of their effort and their skill level.
Situational awareness is something the secondary collectively wants to improve on. What does that mean to you as a coach, where the big disconnect for this secondary was their overall performance versus their third and long performance?
No doubt, no doubt.
How do you go about addressing it?
I think every year is different in terms of the schematics and the numbers and statistics that's going to win. You know, it just depends on how it draws out. But in terms of situational football, it's just teaching them. You know, for us, we've been going through football school. As soon as I got here, football school was already going on. Football school is designed for our players to learn situational football, to learn situations. We got a saying around here that football is not a game of inches, which a lot of times people say. It's a game of situations. So this is the time of year where we're emphasizing situational football, third down, third and short, third and medium, how to play those situations, what offenses are trying to do to attack us in those scenarios, red zone versus tight red zone, coming out, backed up situations. So it's up to us as coaches to address those deficiencies and kind of move forward through teaching. You know, that's what we're paid to do. You know, everything's gotten fast outside, and, you know, you recruit really hard, but you got to coach the guys and get them to execute the scheme that you want to have happen.
When you mentioned technique-wise, are you a back pedal guy, a shuffle guy? What's your kind of...
You know, I believe there's a lot of ways to do things, you know, in terms of, you know, the movements of the position. I've done it all. I've done them all. You know, my philosophy is I'm going to get here, I'm going to teach what I know, and I'm going to assess the skill set of the players to really cater it to what they do well. I've backpedaled, I've shuffled, I've had open hips. You know, I've coached from the little league level all the way up. So I've had different various levels of skill players that could do various things that was advantageous for us, and it may not have been good doing other things. So I'm comfortable in my diversity in terms of my technique tool bag, that we can find some techniques that the guys will be comfortable with.
Did you do a big breakdown of guys' film like coming in here, or are you kind of basing everything off of like firsthand what you see in practice?
No, I think the film is a key component of it. Obviously, you know, when I got here, we were going through self-scout, which is just really looking at the past season. I think this, as we went on, my free time has been watching cut-ups, watching individual skill sets and pass concepts, and really our coverage components, you know, really trying to learn the schematics. You know, I usually try to save my evaluations for when I get eye to eye with them, because the film is a piece of information, but so is the in-person evaluation, much like recruiting. You know, in recruiting, you're going to look at the films, you're going to look at their highlights, but, you know, the in-person evaluation does hold a little bit more weight, which you can trust your own eyes in terms of your evaluation.
You've been a defensive coordinator before. What do you think about Andy's scheme that made it so successful year one here and going forward?
I think he does a really good job of delegating. You know, I think he does a really good job of getting everybody on the same page. And, you know, defense is a collaborative thing. And a lot of times in this sport, you know, you don't get a lot of collaboration. Sometimes you get my way or the highway style. So it's been very, very refreshing in terms of us having opportunities to present to the team, opportunities to present in front of the defense, that we continue to hone our skill set as coaches for opportunities in the future. So I've been very impressed with that. You know, I'm impressed with the way that he compartmentalizes the learning for the players, and really how we've been teaching the situational ball. It's been refreshing to get around a new scheme. I'm a football junkie in terms of the schematics. I'm not just a defensive back guy. I really like the box fits in terms of the runs. So anytime I get an opportunity to learn new defenses, new schemes, I've been pretty giddy here lately.
You mentioned the collaboration. He's talking about trying to get more of your guys who made secondary wide on the field more in some different packages compared to even a year ago. What does that mean to you, where, again, 6 DBs is not unheard of, that's dime, but if you do anything more, that's a little bit more exotic. So how do you go about teaching that for a group who hadn't done that before?
See, the thing here, and it goes back to the football school, because football school is part about, you know, formation recognition. All right, it's part about formations, you know, learning what tendencies are, what offenses are trying to do, but also it teaches you other things in terms of the skill set, how to disguise, you know, how to play different techniques, how to do different things. So football school ties directly into that as well. You know, it's situational, it's schematic, you know, it's the teaching. So it's what you do in the classroom that matters. Can they take it from the class and bring it out here to the grass? Because if they can't, you know, we got to find another way to get it done.